Is it real? We are live. Hola community. I'm Pablo Vasquez.
I'm the Life Linton.
And we're streaming live from the Blender Blender Studio, Blender HQ. First level. The first episode of the show since we couldn't do it anymore from home, from the studio, and it became our second home now. We're spending a lot of time here. We are having dinners, we are watching movies, we are
playing ping pong, playing fuzzball.
It's so nice. It's so nice. So welcome to another era of Blender. Today we have a lot of announcements today. We have everything from geometry nodes that didn't make it to the previous week. We covered some of the new concept of fields in a video that is in this channel that we made together.
On Friday, we haven't tweeted about it, but a lot of people already watched it.
Yeah, and if you follow the channel, if you're subscribed and get the notification thing, and you probably have seen it. It's a how to, or what is geometry nodes fields, which is a good introduction if you want to follow what is new this week. Then we have in the asset browser, there's new constraints, the user interface. There are news in pretty much everything. UV editor, it's the name of the show.
Yeah, so many of the Google Summer of Code projects made into Blender.
Yes, so
nice.
Make some tea, some drinks, some coffee, some whatever fits your time zone, and buckle up, because today we have a bunch of stuff to see. First of all, the second part of the show, towards the end of the show, whatever time we have left, it's gonna be about answering questions. So go to Blender.community and check out the post by Sansuls. Thank you for making the post. We're gonna be answering questions towards the end of the show. But okay, first, announcements. 3 things. 1, there is a new Blender LTS release of 2.83. It's been like 15 months since it came out. Still's getting updates, and it's still gonna get for another year, right?
I'm trying to think. There's a yes, and even though it doesn't happen as often as the 2.93, there's still things. I remember I sent a fix to it the other week.
To 2.83?
To sanitize, yes, because don't want to spoil much, but because in Master we now have more VSC strips.
Yes.
Or VSC channels. So we ported back some sanitized code to make sure it doesn't read more than what it supports. So you can still open your latest Blender files with the old Blender, with the LTS. And then it doesn't crash. So that's the point of the LTS. It's not only the critical fix we find or driver updates, but also these things that we know we want to make sure we can have files that are working across different Blend versions.
And they keep working. So this is 2.83.18. You should download it if you're still using 2.83 for production. It shouldn't break anything. You should trust this release. But it's super cool to see it evolving. This week, 2.93 might get an update, but that's spoiler alert. It already got one last month, but it's time for this month's.
This Wednesday.
Yeah. And another round of events. The other release that got some changes, not changes, but it went into a new era is Blender 3.0. Finally made it into Beacon 2.
Yeah, it's a longer release cycle than usual. So we're a bit more accommodating when it comes to landing the big projects. So we postponed the Beacon 2 for a whole week. But now we have the cycles that have fields. We have most of the main changes that were showstoppers, main blockers. And we formally made this switch, which is a more symbolic change. Just in our mindset. Okay, we know what's there, so we can document, we can test with a bit more focus. It's there.
It is there in the chat. I thought we got one LTS version at a time. No, there is 2 LTS versions at a time. So right now, like by the end of the year when 3.0 comes out, there will be 2.83, 2.93 LTS, and 3.0. That's because each LTS gets 2 years of support. So by next year, when is it?
It's in April? No?
April, I think, more or less. But at the same time, the first 2.83 release came out, the support is going to be stopped. So no more updates for that one. Yeah. But you can switch into 2.93, which is by then is going to have like 10 fixed releases or so. So
I can see we're extending some of them 3 more months.
Oh, wow.
to make sure maybe what we do instead of the not only the 2-year agreement of support, but make sure we always have 2 LTSs running at the same time. And because for 3.0 we moved the whole release cycle 3 months ahead into the future, 3.3 is going to be only in way later into the year.
Okay, so that way there's always 2 LTSs running.
I just came up with that, so I don't know. I need to check if everyone else.
Yeah,
but it makes sense.
It would make sense, and this is pretty great because when 2.83 time support ends, 2.93 is gonna be like rock stable because it gets so many updates already. Like look at the amount of fixes in the last release, and previous to that, another releases, and for every release we have, we got a lot. So what is happening actually? I don't know. I know people don't get to see it, but the windows have some automatic curtains of the light changes. So much technology in this place. Wow. All right, so time to continue. The last announcement I wanted to make is that in the Blender Cloud there is a blog post, an article, so it's available for everyone. You don't need to be subscribed, but it highlights the Open Timeline IO support in Blender. The team here at the studio wanted to export the movie Sprite Fright into a number of other formats, AFF, among others, XML or EDL. They've been experimenting and having headaches, and those headaches and how they solve them, they are in the blog post.
You can see if you see the last 2 weeklies from Paul, when he presents it, he makes it very funny. It shows a little bit of the journey, go over the old add-ons, and here's a bit more streamlined. So if we really just want information, we can just go here.
Go here.
On the journey a little bit. You can go to the weeklies.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, in the production logs, like of the previous week, this is from this week. Yeah, but from the week before, you can see the presentation by Paul. It even has timestamps here where he presents, and it's all on YouTube, on the Blender Animation Studio YouTube channel. So cool. I think we never did so much coverage of what's going on in a production in here as a blog post and also live streams. It was either one.
It's just nice. The whole structure of the new cloud, it helps for that a lot.
Yeah.
Just see people updating the contents and all.
And all. Speaking of blog posts, actually, okay, let's switch into what's new in Blender this week. UV editor improvements, and for that we also have blog posts, but not on the cloud, on the code blog. The last blog. Oh, hey, how are ya? Did you change?
I have so many great t-shirts at home.
Yeah, it's okay. Click the latest blog post in here by Mario Havat. Thank you, Mario, for covering so well what's going on in the Google Summer of Code projects. The 2 projects that are mentioned here, one of them is the curve improvements, but also the UV editor, which is not here, is here in the second.
In the editors. Yes.
UV editor, sorry, it's in the previous blog post, not in the latest one. There's still one more blog post to go.
Yes, it comes out this week.
Okay. Everything is here in the blog post actually. So if you follow the blog, you probably know already what's new. But if you haven't, look at this awesome tool, pack islands to box area. So you can unpack or pack and in an area. So you draw like a border area, and it's gonna try to fit all the UVs in there. That's so cool. Next step, lasso. You can draw a shape now. Now it is already awesome. You can change the settings afterwards in the panel, in the settings here. Maximum X, Y, rotate, scale, the limit. So cool.
So powerful. I mean, there's still the UV editor hasn't got a lot of development in the past years,
decades.
So it does have a roadmap that played full for anyone that wants to contribute, and Siddhartha is one of those people. So it was a very successful GitSock project, Google Summer of Code
project. Have you been in touch with them, with Siddhartha?
Oh yes.
Yeah, and he still doesn't hate the UV editor. Do you think we're gonna get more updates?
He's still gonna be able to contribute a little bit. He's still finishing his degree, so he has some obligations with that regard.
Yeah.
But he believes by later this year, December, he might even have more time to contribute back. So keep an eye on his work. He's a nice guy.
I hope he wants to continue working on this, or working even for Blender, other areas of Blender. But the UV editor, that would be amazing. Like this feature, snap grading, snapping, not grading, snapping to the grid, snapping to the grid. So there is this new feature where you can select increment or absolute grid snap. So when you move, when you're in transform, the vertices, it will snap to the grid that you see underneath. There's also a new feature that allows you to set dynamically the size of the grid. So you change basically how many points you want to see. So these are for visualization, right? This doesn't have anything to do with the final result.
Correct. This I don't think is in master yet. Maybe you can check with the latest Blender. Okay, I remember at that last I checked last week when we were doing the Beacon 2.
No, it's not here.
Yeah, some of the projects were there. Some of the deliverables from the GitSoc were finished. Some of them were not. So I think in the article there's a big warning. I think
some of them are not there. Yeah, the dynamic, it's not there. And also, now that I think of it, maybe it would make sense to have a panel called viewport display, something that okay, I'm doing review on live stream, but like, viewport display, so it that it just affects the viewport, unlike the Udim grid, which is not just viewport but actual functionality. But this is here, this is new, the custom grid.
Yeah, so maybe that's how it ended. But I remember, I think there's some of the
improvements there. So grid and snap, and also the other feature, speaking of Udim, is the pack to closest active Udim. This feature extends the functionality of pack islands operator to allow packing UVs to either the closest or the active Udim tile.
Oh wow, and that's so nice because Udim came as a community contribution. And now you see this being picked up by Google Summer of Code project, and just its life keeps evolving
by the community. So Blend Foundation did nothing here. So the community.
Of course, I did, like from
of course
reviewing
the review. I'm joking. But yeah, the reviewing is a big part of that. So I think that's all for the UV editor. If you want to see if you want to learn what else is coming, there is a few more of the items here highlighted that you can check on the wiki if you click on them. They are not yet in master. Is that Beacon 2? No, it's illegal.
I think it won't be. I think it might be
3.1.
3.1.
Blender
just
3.1.
around the corner.
Blender 3.1 is gonna be in alpha in like less than a month.
Less than a month, yes.
So when people say 3.1, it's not like it is literally next year for release, but it's not really that far from now. I'm trying to find a segue to change into the other way. What's new? Okay, so user interface. Okay, it's not too far from now. You know what else? What was far in Blender? Well, the distance between the I'm trying to build a segue here. The distance between the tool settings and the header. It wasn't that far. It was just this far. But in Blender 2.80, the introduction of the toolbar made it so the settings for whatever you had selected here, they were shown on the top. And the reason for that was because usually the list of settings that you have is much higher than the options that you have available underneath. So it makes more sense to fill up the top and then the bottom with the lesser amount of items. However, that proved to be a bit confusing, and there were also other issues. I don't know if I have a Blender here that I can show how it used to look before, but here in the new it was just basically swapped in positions. So what you get now, you don't get the icon up here, which looked like it was a bit repeated, and also it wasn't very descriptive. The icon meant really nothing if you didn't know what the icon was. Now it shows the label. So if you have something active here, you can see like, oh, okay, it's the add cube, select box, select tweak, select circle. So you get the description up here. You still get the icon in this panel.
And probably in the properties editor.
Yeah, this is a copy paste. Yeah. I think we should do this here too. That if like to the active tool to have it, to have the name outside without a header. You know, like because it's the tool works.
I know what I mean. Yes.
Yeah. So again, review during the live stream. I'm getting blinded by the light. Good luck. It's good to do that. We have this. The other change was that the header now is on top and all the information is on top. The menus are on top, so it's more organized.
What
in
is
the
here? There's some redness. Oh, was the 3D cursor itself was behind the 3D cursor icon. Yep.
So the main difference is that the object is next to the editor, so it's all more tied together. You know, you have the editor that defines the tools, defines everything, defines the menus, and then the sub mode that also defines the menu. So it's all connected. Then you don't have a mix of the tool and.
It is being well received. I know UI changes are always a little bit.
I think so. I haven't had
polemic.
any. I haven't read any rants about it yet. There is one, for example, the video editing editor has now this all empty line, which it used to have it on the top, so it was even worse. But I think for this this editor, we may want to find a way to either expose those here because there's only 2 tools. So for now, this just doesn't really make sense. So it's better to save some precious vertical pixels also here. Like there's the sample and some transform with the new transform settings, but I don't know. So maybe a way to group this. It is still a work in progress. Another big change, and big is a play of words because it's not really big, but you're not gonna really notice unless you really think about it. This, you know, when the cursor changes shape, that action zone is now twice as big. So
these would be so good.
Yes, for changing resizing the editors, now the action area is slightly bigger. Well, twice as.
When was that in? Because this bothered me every other week.
No, this last week. I think this was last week. This is one of the many patches by Harley.
That's so nice.
Yeah, it was. There is even a drawing of the size here. So yeah, basically twice.
That's so nice. Oh.
Yeah, small detail. I still want to have the shortcuts to scale. You know, like on Linux, you can do this kind of things. Not there yet. Then last but not least, there is a new setting in the key map. So it's not really UI, but it is key map that allows you to define the file browser to open the folders with a single click. So you enable the setting from here, and now when you are browsing the anywhere, just basically click, and you don't have to double click. So it behaves more like Blender 2.7.
And the default is?
The default is the same as before, it's double click. So you need to double click. But trust me, if you just single click, you're gonna see how much better it is.
And I see that you have been
boosting
your numbers for commit.
Yes, I want to get up my number in the Blender.Today. There is a credits. There is no number though for the amount of commits, I think, or is there?
Really?
Oh, there is.
Of course, yeah, there is.
Okay. So yeah, I'm trying to earn my figure. I think for the last one, I need to add more comments, fixes, typos, and stuff. Okay, time to switch topic. This is a small one. It's more like user interface, but it's regarding tracking. We don't see tracking updates often. This one by Johan Wallace added sorting for motion tracking tracks. So you can sort now by start and end frames. So to get things more organized. You know, you
Oh,
can
it's the
follow.
dope sheet, not in the clip editor.
No, it's in the dope sheet.
Okay.
In when you have tracking setting in the dope sheet editor, you can see it. And yeah, so nice because you have, you know, like a stair. You can follow all your tracks.
Yeah, figured.
Super
Oh,
neat.
you sort it.
You sort them and then they get arranged, and you see them down. Super nice.
For,
And
for 3.0, you're gonna have new clip editor tools, I believe.
do you think?
Oh yeah,
Sebastian
Sebastian is working on that. Yes.
Kunef, you in Beacon too?
In Beacon, I mean, he almost made it to 3.0, so
Yeah, I hope. So yeah,
super nice. Thank you, Johan Wales.
Johan Wells. Yeah, I was actually stalking his profile to see if I can, but if he commented on other stuff. No, he's been around for a while. It's not a new. Oh, it even has more request review for improved motion tracking graph colors. That's so cool. He wants to help with them tracking. Okay, time to move into another section. Asset browser. So the big news of last week was that the asset browser got the catalogs UI. What is a catalog UI? What is catalog?
Oh, it's catalog, right? Catalog is what in the early days of Pose Library into Blender, we had the categories, and that was not even exposed to the users. Basically, catalog is a way to have a virtual, let's call hierarchy of folders, of virtual folders where you can organize your asset library. That's usually how that's the official definition. It's like your own, I'll call it folders, where you can have all your hand pose libraries, all your character A and assets. And this was one of the requirements we had to support asset for things other than pose library. At the moment, I have more than one kind of asset, then you need a way to organize them.
Yeah, and the categories that we had before, they weren't super
You can see them here.
flexible. But here, yeah, these are the old ones. So scene, animations, object collections, yeah, they were not super like, where is a light? Is it an environment or shading? Where? For example.
A light to be miscellaneous.
Yes, no. So it was a bit arbitrary. So not anymore. Now you can build your own catalogs. You find them in the asset browser, just as always, and they're even enabled here by default already. They are gone from extended. You still need to have text.
Nope,
Really?
you don't. Yeah, of course.
Then why is this here?
Because there's still support to. It's not asset browser extended, but basically asset browser
management
project.
Okay, so like if I make
If you want to make a material
asset,
to be.
there you go. Okay, and then I can have the catalog, and I can rename my catalog.
Rename, I think Julian's working on that today.
Awesome. And then if it is not assigned, I can assign it by drag and dropping, and then I have my own catalog.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So now all the catalogs are named like this.
Yes.
Nice.
You can even try to see if you can drag a catalog inside another catalog.
Nested? No,
You
there's
should be able
not.
to. You will be able to.
Yes? Wow. That's
Yeah.
so cool.
Because yeah, you need that kind of control in your hierarchy. And the nice thing is if you click on the top level, those are terrible names to explain anything, right? We have a catalog called Ellie, the main character of Sprite Fried.
Yeah.
And then you have a sub catalog called Hands, another one called Feet.
Yeah.
And you click on Ellie, you get to see all of them.
Okay,
So is it different than a folder in a computer, where you can even have things only in the folder, but it's a way to go more granular into the categorization of your assets.
Awesome. And it still works in the same way as before. In the file paths, you're gonna have the asset categories that you can choose from here and assign. In this case, I have nothing assigned. I have a chair. But I should, for example, here I can't make a new. Oh, I can make catalogs of linked libraries. I don't know if this is gonna be allowed, or is it gonna. Maybe I can make a special, you know, like I did with you for about fields with Yulen ISO. That would be cool. Now that we are at the studio, we can just hang out.
Well, because you can, because the catalog is stored in the repository.
Yeah, but the repository is somewhere else.
Yeah, what you can't really do. No, even that you can do. To move, so if you want to, you can do even for linked data because it's the thing you did now, if you go to your computer, you're gonna have a JSON file that says, hey, this object which is in a linked, or this asset that is in a linked file now is in this catalog. If you look at in your computer, you can find it. If you go to the repository folder
of this,
yep, in that folder.
I have it in Blender demos, cycles, and then yeah, somewhere here. But do I need to save it? Maybe I can have I better have. Yeah, no, I don't see it here.
Maybe save it.
Save the file.
Oh.
But
no.
No. So I need to save. You see, this is making changes in the catalog that is still
but
not.
I think the catalog is in the top level of the repository. That's what I'm trying to say. So that, maybe if you go to the user preference, if you go to the demos folder.
To this demos folder. Ah, there you go. So if I go to demos one level up, I should see here a, is it hidden? No.
Nah, maybe I'm full of.
Yeah, you need to get an expert on this. So I'm gonna get Julian ISO to explain this. Or maybe, but to me it's weird that we can edit, because I thought the whole point was to not edit from a file, not edit external repositories. So maybe this is just not being saved. Maybe if I refresh, you see it's gone. So maybe that's what is missing.
Oh, I shouldn't.
However, if I go here into the actual, now I open the demos, this file, and in here I do go to the asset browser and I create a new catalog. I add my chair to the catalog. I add a new more, and then I save. This now should show up.
No,
here.
okay, that's the.
Now it shows up. So the writing should be not allowed. It's just missing the.
And then if you go to the folder, there's a file.
There is the file. There, you were right. It's a text file though, not a JSON.
Correct.
Cool. The unique IDs and everything, and you can just version this. Version 1. Empty lines are starting with. Ignore the first 4 lines out of the format UI catalog path for asset simple catalog name. Cool. All right. Gonna learn more. I think it would be nice to have a dedicated video about that in the future, near future. You can drag assets into catalog. That's one of the things that was added last week. But since we just introduced catalog, everything is part of the same. And also you can have catalogs part of the same asset file of the current file asset library. You can now also. This is new. This wasn't possible before. You can drag and drop a world asset into the.
That's official.
Viewport.
That's officially the second data block that's allowed to make it an asset.
So materials and.
No, materials. The third one. The first one is the pose library. And then for material, we are waiting for the deduplication to be supported, and for the catalog. And then meanwhile, we got this patch from the community to support world.
Wow.
And dragging.
So for example, if I have my world, I have awesome, world awesome. I make this an asset. Then I go to another thing that doesn't have that world, and I go to the asset browser. I have my world awesome, so I can just drag and drop. There, nice. That's so cool. Nice.
And the preview is getting the color, I presume. We can try change the.
Probably. You think it's no, but then I need to update it.
Yep.
Ah, yeah, it's getting it. That's cool. And also, there we can actually just explain a new feature. What?
No, I was going to say the tags themselves are not there yet, but you see them because you enabled the extended file browser. The tags here.
Ah, the tags. Ah, this is experimental.
Yeah, this maybe if you go to the preference and disable it.
If I disable from experimental.
There we go.
Oh, not even the world is there. I compiled 1 minute before the live stream, so it's even, it should, yeah.
Okay, so maybe it wasn't.
Keep it in mind.
Okay.
Yes, but it's pretty neat. I'm discovering a bunch of stuff. The world awesome world. You notice that when I drag and drop, now the world has 2 users. So this is a new setting that it's here exposing the center of the asset browser editor that allows you to either link append. This used to be just like that, but the new feature since last week is reuse data. So reuse data will reuse the existing world, which I already had in another scene. So it's not gonna make a copy, it's gonna add a user. So you end up with a bunch of worlds, a bunch of textures, a bunch of images.
It's particularly important for data that's inside what you dragged.
Yes.
Because if the word had the big HDR that you want to reuse, even if you want that word data block to be unique, you might not want to duplicate all the textures and materials. Well, in that case, textures and images.
Yeah, imagine if you have a bunch of characters and or chairs, and you want to have 6 chairs. You want them to use the same material, same everything. So you can, of course, just use append. I think reuse data is the default by now, so you don't end up making new data. But if you want to make a new copy, append is gonna do the work, and it should have world 1.001. No, look at that, works great. It's reusing it.
That's what I'm trying to say. If you do it to a new scene, yeah, it's always.
Oh wait, I found a bug.
No, it's not a bug. I'm trying to say if that data block.
This is a bug. Come on, it's 5 users of the world. I have 2 scenes.
Yeah.
There's no there's no way.
Well, but if you save and reopen, it's gonna clean up a little bit.
Yeah.
Why is it?
That fixes everything.
Yeah.
But
no, I'm trying to think if
I go to a new
the
scene.
paint itself should be a new word or should not. Well, that's a good thing that is disabled.
Yeah, good thing that it's experimental. I'm playing with fire.
This when I said that I thought this would be the first one after Pose Library, because for me it came as a surprise, but I assume was we're only enabling by default without experimental things which are fully polished.
Fully polished.
And it seems to still have some
so
quirks.
the expected behavior with append will be to have board awesome 0.001 like this, and that should be the expected behavior to make a new copy. So I'm not gonna talk about experimental features anymore. The other update is that related to the asset browser is that the post library add-on has been updated. The panels that are related to post library are only gonna be shown during post mode, and also if you don't have any assets, if you're in post library or post mode, the panels will show up. It used to be that without any assets or asset categories, the panel wouldn't show up. It's a bit weird. It's good to see that it's empty. You know, it's like, okay, it's empty. I need to add one.
Does it show a message, or it's just empty?
This is as much as I know.
Just think about the geometry nodes case.
Yeah, with the output attributes. Yeah, we still didn't even talk about the geometry nodes, and we have 15 minutes left, right? Okay, time to talk about some more love that the video video sequence editor is getting. This is awesome. Last week we talked about strips in the thumbnails and so many other features. This new feature allows you to tag strips with a specific color. You get an option of 8 colors, the same that you can pick from the outliner for the collections, but now you can specify as an overlay. You need to have the overlay enabled, and that way you can color the things, all the colors of the rainbow.
Is the overlay enabled by default? Should be, right? Because you have no colors by default, then it should be.
I think it should be. So let's find out. Let's find out today. These live streams are test first. Yeah, color tag is enabled by default. So if I change the color of this, and I call our evil friends. This is a color strip. It's a color strip. So this is a color strip. If I add it to, for example, text, it will be way less confusing. Color tags are enabled. Right click, set color tag, and you can specify anything. This should be available here though, somewhere, I believe.
Yeah.
I think it should be here, like viewport display.
See it here, maybe we can click.
Oh, there you go. Nice. And if I don't have, how do I clear that from here? Ah, there you go. I'll just,
Interesting.
yeah, I like it. It's pretty nice.
Of
Very. We don't usually do that, but it looks cool. Well, we also don't do this of disabling a thing from the right.
From the right, yeah. I was thinking that, yes.
Let's open a new Blender. Yay. Okay. What else is new in Blender? There is ASC CDL color correction method. So this is something that is already available in other places for color correction in the compositor, I believe. Yes, in the compositor. So now this is available in the modifiers for VSE strips.
The number of strips, was it last week or this week?
Was the previous week? You missed it out actually, but I actually couldn't show it because the I couldn't compile. I was on Windows and I had some issues compiling. So now I'm on Linux, so I can compile and look at this. Beautiful.
You could see before you just couldn't add.
You couldn't add. Oh yeah.
You could actually see before. You can still see all the way to 1,000.
Yes. Now you can.
You can just move it all the way up.
You can move it all the way up anywhere you want. And look, the numbers are vertical because I'm using my own branch.
I know there's something very different.
Some things are different. It's more. Yes, that is a spoiler alert of a change that I want to propose for a branch in terms of UI. But it's not there yet. I think we can start talking about geometry nodes, but I'm almost tempted to talk about the other things and leave it for another episode. Look at the list. Let's just be transparent with the amount of things we need to talk about. And then cycles and then potpourri section. Do we do rapid fire?
Okay.
Okay, well this will be the name of an episode. If I do another episode about geometry nodes, this would be, because it's huge. String manipulation nodes. You can have text.
And Eric, I remember the first contribution that Eric did regarding text was it's not much of a rapid fire, sorry. But I was like just trying to the basic text support, and then we got back to him and say, hey, can you check if other artists make sure we have something that can include, paragraphs, scale to fit, all those functionalities we have in the built-in Blender. And then he did and delivered, and I'm not even keeping track, but you can see like now in this node have every single feature we had in the
everything. Okay. So look at that. I have a awesome string and a string to curves. So basically I'm typing in the editor, but hey, it's not filled, so I can use the new node, fill, curve fill, and then I can fill it with hexagons or with triangles. So cool, so cool.
And then there is to animate each of the characters individually, and I don't know how, but I've seen.
Let's see the amount of nodes that there are this week. So there is a string length, so I'll outputs the length of a string. Very straightforward. It gives you in numbers, right? Let's see. String length, yes. Yeah, it gives you a integer that can be a field.
That can be filled.
It can be a field with the number of. So what if instead of?
No output can be a field. The output is.
So you think it's wrong?
I think it might be wrong.
Can be a field. The next.
How's that a field? You have a text that is in. If you know all the inputs.
I mean, how can the output be a field if the inputs?
It's not.
Yeah.
So that's from it.
Yeah, that's okay. So
maybe a bug.
Might be a bug. Okay, just to keep it in mind. String the length if you wanna write it somewhere in a pen.
Okay. Go ahead. I have a.
You have a pen, or you have a memory? There you go. Write it down.
Yeah.
So people see you working. Look at that. Look at the guy. He's writing real paper.
String. What was the length, right?
Yeah. String length has a wrong output shape. String substring. You can get a little substring.
Impossible to read from there.
Yeah, you can pick. You can get a part. This is right. This is correct. You have a field. Yeah, you could use to get the input and the length of the of the string. Then there is value to string. Pretty straightforward. Like any value, you can convert it into a string object, and a string join.
But I think I might know why it could be a field, but because if you connect that to something else, that as a, if it's, you know, the whole idea of fields that you can calculate the data afterwards.
Yeah.
So maybe if there's a way for that node to work not with what we inputted on it, but another node that has a string. But anyway, I think should be probably separate than the functionality.
It could be. So you know you can choose. Did you know that you can concatenate strings? So I have awesome, I have Blender 3.0, and they are connected. I can use the limiter like a comma, and then I'm gonna be spaced out. I can, if I add a space. It's not spaces. Oh, there you go. Enter. What if I want to break? Well, you might know already that you can get special characters. The line break is a special character that you can connect as a delimiter, and then bam,
so
you
nice.
can have. So cool, so cool. So that's so good. String. So how long until we see an add-on for making motion graphics? I give it a month. So the other nodes, okay, string to curves, that's I already covered. Random value is not related to that, but we actually seen it in the video.
We covered in the video
last week. Yeah, it just gives you a random value. Random value. There you go. Pretty straightforward. The other node, build instances separately in. Let's just cover everything. It's gonna be a bit longer today, but we're gonna cover everything. Build instances separately in the core field node. So what does this do?
Well,
each reference instance data will be converted to a geometry instance and processed separately. So this speeds up. We have a bunch of commits like this week and in previous weeks in terms of because before many nodes will convert instances to real automatically and hit performance, right? Like it would not.
Yeah, you could still debug what's going on with your node tree, but if you didn't know exactly what's happening, you would maybe in a way lose control of how you can optimize it.
Yes, so that's why the realize instances node, it will do that. If you want to get the previous behavior where you get real instances. What is a real instance? How could you describe a real instance from a non-real instance?
A realized instance.
Yeah, realized instance.
A realized instance is a data that it could go to edit mesh mode. That's how I would describe it.
So it will be displayed in the spreadsheet, for example, as real data and not just as an instance.
Yes. Makes
sense. There you go. Well, here we have 21 instances. Oh, it was one per strings?
One per. I think that's exactly what that thing is doing, maybe.
Yeah, and if we convert it.
But is it reusing?
There you go. Look at that. This is real geometry, and this is instances of each string. Now you can see it in action.
Oh, funny enough. And then, how do they see if I want to see that as a curve? So if you realize before the curve fill.
Still there.
Because you're doing after the curve fill. Maybe if you connect this one to the viewer. And then mute the curve fill. Yeah, there we go.
Ah, there you go. So it's first data. Curves, and then the curve fill is converting that.
Yeah, and then you can tell from the input and output that the input's a curve and the output's a mesh.
Look at that. These people have been actually thinking about this. It's awesome. There is a whole bunch of new nodes also from last week. Let's go quickly through them instead.
Curve tangent node.
Curve tangent node. This is a new node that outputs the direction vector or tangent of a curve at every control point.
For anyone really into curve editing, you can check the code.blender.org. Probably have mentioned that before in a few weeks ago. Have the overall curve support in Blender.
Yes, I don't know if all those nodes are listed there.
They came afterwards. No.
Because these are a whole bunch of these nodes are new. So this one gives you the direction vector at every point. Then there is this other change, curve sample node. This used to be, it's actually been around for a while, but
I think those might be in the code.blender.org. When is the article from?
Well, no, this is a few weeks ago. Here, procedural curves.
From 16. Okay.
Yeah,
those are nodes from 21.
Yeah, but I mean, it's by Hans, which is also the developer that is bringing all of this, so maybe he mentions those. But there's so many. So curve sample allows you to sample a curve. You can also have the curve parameter node. It commits as a field input node that outputs the fraction of the total length of the spline on each control point.
One thing I'd get from this is that we need sample files.
We need sample files.
So use the nodes, post on the social media, and then if you're ever contacted by a developer, be nice and share the files if you can.
Please. In no time, we'll have to work on the release notes page for everything in Blender 3.0, including all of these nodes and stuff. That is gonna be a massive amount of work, so if you can make some cool artwork and share it, use hashtag B3D, hashtag geometry nodes, and we'll see it. We're checking that all the time. Then more curve fillet node. Fillet, like a...
So like to take the two curves and then, how do you call it? Fillet them together?
Is that a fillet?
Uh-huh.
Let's see the demo video.
Is a...
So you can basically, it's this thing.
Yeah, the classic thing in CAD software. You have this to draw a street and then make sure the lines converge. So that's how I knew it.
So for architecture, I think it's gonna be used most.
And a curve subdivide node with fields. So as you can see, there's a lot of... It's taking the existing nodes and make them ready for the fields.
Yes, but some of them are even changing names. Like the resample is now resample curve, and it's adapted to the new fields. There are some nodes that when converted into fields, they have a new field, a new socket for selection. That's pretty cool. This one, for example, is a subdivide, curve subdivide. There you go, which also takes a field or the
same value for the entire curve, or a parameter that have in a curve that can be used.
So a function of a just regular.
This case with the resolution, value. Right? This part of the curve is more important.
That's so cool. It's like adaptive subdivision.
Yeah, you can do that. If it's within the camera, first one, make sure the curve attribute is cut it a lot, and then so and so.
So cool. What else? Spline length input node. This is a new node that provides a field containing the length of the current evaluated spline to the point and spline domains. Gig has been on a roll. I don't know how many patches he had.
You know that Johnny Mattels, he contributed to Blender 14 years ago.
14 years ago?
He had commit access then, and then actually this week we are welcoming him again as a committer.
Hey, congrats!
Because he's back to contribute to Blender and all that. That's super nice.
That's
so if you go to the credits in Blender, the page we showed like a few moments ago, maybe just type it again. You're gonna find his contributions.
Really?
Jonathan
Matthews. There you go. 2004
to 2007.
Wow. What did he work on? You know?
I do. Not sure. People may not. Maybe I should be public about it. He's still a software developer.
Okay. No, what did he used to work on in Blender?
Oh, okay,
like what he contributed in 2004? Because it can be anything. It can be.
I don't remember. Engine. You can check his profile, right?
Yeah. Well, let's go through this. Expose Bezier handle positions as an attribute. There is new attributes available for curves. The handle start and handle end attributes by hands. Another new node in town, the rotate Euler node, which there, when it loads here, Jared Johnson worked on it.
I'm thinking if Euler is a Dutch word. Euler? Sounds the classic, like the EU.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what's it's nice. A lot of those nodes already allow people to first convert the old sample files.
Yeah.
But even wonder if the original authors of the sample files could maybe volunteer.
Oh, like the demo files. These ones you mean in demo files?
These the ones I mean, yes. Because so much work to convert those. And I know we are going to go after getting new files. But be nice to have some of the classic ones at least.
Yeah, so if your name is here, reach out and maybe upgrade those to fields to download the Blender 3.0 alpha and convert them. For example, this one, the rotate Euler, is a replacement of the point rotate node.
Yes. And I'm thinking that
But
some
why?
of the nodes, why you changed?
Oh, why changing the name? So now we are, yeah, rotate Euler. There you go. Let's continue.
Because it can be used for any
Type of
because
rotation. It's not only for points.
because it's a field as well.
It's a field.
So
It can be anything.
You're not necessarily rotating the points at that moment. That can be the rotation you're passing to the point instance. Okay, point instance node that's using points, but still.
But domain is
Nonetheless.
can be anything. Can be a face, a point, anything.
And you can rotate object or point. And this is not the object or point. This is maybe it didn't even have to change the name, to be honest. if it still has point as one of the reference frames. But anyways, it's a good time to relearn geometry nodes.
Yes. Relearn, adapt. It's not everything you have to relearn. But this one, for example, add side and fill segments to cone cylinder nodes by Leon Lennon. This adds a few controller side and fill to the existing nodes, the primitives for mesh primitives. So side segments and fill segments.
And of course, the other thing you're going to start getting a lot, maybe for 3.0, if not 3.1, if not 3.0, is more output from those primitives and nodes at least.
Oh.
So if you're having a cone, you could totally have a selection output for the top of the cone, the side of the cylinder.
It's like the one we had for a few days, the extrude mesh. Yes, that will give you the top or the side faces. Another update for a node, for an existing node, is the switch node. Now the switch node has a part of it updated. So for float, integer, booleans, vectors, this now can work with fields, as you can see by the shape. But they still also support object geometry collection, texture material, and so on and so forth. Next, mesh point cloud conversion nodes. This is like even just plurals, not even a commit for one node. This is just a bunch of nodes for the point cloud conversion.
Yeah, the original timeline is to have by the end of, I think it's this week.
This week.
Let's say next week. Next week.
Is
Yeah, let's say next week.
yeah, 8 is the end of the
But
week.
to have all the nodes supported.
Yeah.
And there's still nodes which are in a different category, like the texture node.
Yeah.
You won't have at least image texture nodes ported. Mentioned this in the
Sample texture, yeah. Like it will replace the sample texture node.
But for anyone testing the system, we should have a more complete full set. Tool set very, very soon.
New node alert. It's a good thing I didn't introduce the sound for new node alert, because you know, that
Get a
stream
stick
will
of
be-
it very soon.
Okay, this one by Victor Lewis. Attribute statistic nodes. Node. What does it do?
Well, it's one of those. That's actually a nice one because it's like the bounding box we had. So it's you take a geometry, and then you can actually output flat values from it. So there are not a lot of nodes that have this. So it's kind of nice to see this expanded.
Yeah, look at the love that it got from the community.
Maybe wonder if maybe should be combined with the bounding box. Nah, doesn't have to.
With the bounding, well, there are different things.
Is it?
Well, that bounding, it gives you a geometry bounding box, right?
Yeah, but we have the
So
minimum.
you get a geometry back here. This one you don't.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, you get a bunch of data from them.
And of course, you can plug an attribute.
Yes, already as a function or as a.
Yeah, it doesn't make
Regular.
sense to combine with the bounding box. Never mind. This is focused on the attributes,
Attribute
not on
side
the
of things,
geometry.
and this is geometry.
Yes.
So that's the difference. You can see by the color. Okay, next. Geez, still have a bunch of new nodes to talk about. New distribute points on faces node. This is part of a rewrite from the point distribute node, right? So
Yes, that totally is an entire replacement. It's more accurate. It's working like a charm. and still has the old random and Poisson modes. This table ID is gonna change.
Oh wow.
We talked about this, and it is to have it internal. Have the stable ID as a built-in attribute, so it's not exposed there. So you can still input, if you really need, you can still input IDs to the random node, as you show there. The random node has still the ID input,
Yeah.
but you don't need now to connect explicitly stable ID from that into the other nodes. So you might even get rid of the stable ID and have instead a ID input field. The same
Okay.
have position.
And by default, implicitly, we'll have some kind of stable.
By default, just work.
By default, it works. I like that. Awesome. Is this in? No, it's not there. The message. What else? Distribute points once per instance reference. This is a speed up as an optimization. So how Hans describes it here basically means that if you have 100 instances of the same mesh, it will only run once.
And now that you have a pipeline that builds on top of instancing, we can then work in terms of optimization this more aggressively. That's all.
That's
So
all.
welcome. In the end, I'm saying because in the end, a lot of the bottleneck still is in the drawing in the viewport. Remember in the early days where a lot of people testing just Eevee without geometry nodes and geometry nodes, and the result was the same. Just counter-argumented the fact that now geometry node has a cap, has a limitation, which of course it has, but
So let's blame the other modules. It's Eevee, it's rendering, it's viewport. Would Vulkan solve that with since it can support threading?
it might.
Might. New instance on points node. So this is again replacing a previous, right? The point instance node.
Sorry, just a disclaimer. Vulkan might help with the threaded shader compilation.
Ah, okay.
The drawing itself is already quite optimized with batch rendering and everything else.
Okay. So there is a new node in town, but it's a replacement. So instance on points is a replacement for the old point instance node. Contrary to the old node, it does not have a mode to instance objects or collections directly. Instead, the node has to be used with an object collection info to achieve the same effect.
And this is so nice. This is part of those new features we had for 3.0 that we're waiting for the whole field's design discussions to settle a little bit. So it's not only a redesign, but it's a redesign that supports new features.
Yes, because you don't specify here directly an object or a collection, and I drag them in the wrong order. An object or a collection is that it can be picked here, can be part of the data that.
And can be the beautiful things. It can be just a cube, it can be just your own procedural model.
Oh yeah, or a primitive even, right?
Yeah, that's
That's the magic. We showed it actually in the other video.
Yeah.
And instance on points in instances. So okay, it gets even deeper. Instance on points in instances. So this is again has to do with the making real, right? So need to make we also want to process all the instances in the points independently. This allows for more efficient instancing of many objects, but also leads to nested instancing.
Yeah, we can have instance of instance, but when you go, the moment you have the realize node, then everything is made real.
Yeah, and that's when it gets heavy, so try to avoid it as much as possible, if you can. Support outputting collection children and as instances. Collection children as instances. This is related to what we just mentioned.
Yes, yes, about having instance of
Is 2 new input sockets to the collection info node, which
this I didn't see,
here.
actually.
Separate children and reset children. What does it do?
reset children. This I don't actually know.
Input value used for unconnected socket. Ah, that's why. This one, input value used for unconnected socket. That explains it. Just read
Love how the joke is on us, right?
Totally.
We making Blender like
Yes, but then people have tried to fix that, and it's not so easy apparently. When turned off, the entire collection is output as a single collection instance. When turned on, each tile of the collection is output as a separate instance.
Oh, so it's an instance that has the whole nested instancing.
Yeah. And when the reset children is used, when used, the transform of the instances are reset to the origin. It is useful when one wants to instance the collection children separately in the upcoming instance node. Only used when separate children is on. So this should become
Should be grayed out.
should be grayed out. Yeah, it's a collection info separate children. Live stream code review. Socket visualization for fields. This is new, but you can see it, and we describe it in the video that is that talks about geometry nodes fields explained. Also, socket tooltips. The sockets now have tooltips. Rotation of the instances. You can have the index of the instance at each point. So this is new. The sockets are getting tooltips before the values themselves.
How does it work when you want to do the socket instance? Sorry, the socket inspection.
Yes.
Does it fight?
No, it seems to
So
take
if
over.
you connected, you know what you did.
Empty geometry. Okay, so if it gives you the
Maybe we can go to the ones you showed there.
yeah, exactly, like this one.
To be computed, you need to
node,
connect,
yeah.
right?
I think this has to be done for each one automatically.
Now, if you
right?
connect anything to it,
So rotation to the instance. If I connect this, still says, oh no, but it's in a new line. That's great actually. So it says on the top it says the rotation of the instances. On the bottom it says the other.
but then but what about the length tooltip we had in the pick instance?
Sorry.
If you go to pick instance, this one for instance, they had.
Yeah.
No, the pick instance one here.
Yeah.
Oh, I
There's
saw
different
one. I
instances
saw
on
one of them
different
that was quite
points.
large. Yeah.
But also this is not being computed, right? Unless I connect it. So then it should through Boolean. So it's a mix. That's super cool.
That's very nice.
The maybe a bit too much spacing, but super nice. I think we're getting close to the end of the updates, and maybe we can wrap it up here because we have some questions and we're already 15 minutes late. So legacy warning and view legacy operator. This we mentioned again in the other video of geometry nodes fields explained, is that now you're gonna see a warning icon on top of the node that is considered legacy, that needs to be replaced. So it will still work until Blender 4.0 or earlier, maybe
Yeah, 3 years at least. Well, 2 years
2 years.
maximum.
But you're not gonna find it if you try to add those old nodes. They're not gonna show up in the search. They have been considered legacy. You can still duplicate it, right? You can.
Yeah, there is. You can probably add them via Python as well.
Oh, probably.
Not probably. You can.
Wow.
Actually I don't know. It probably can.
The set position node now has implicit position input. This change makes the set position node do nothing by default. Before, the geometry will always disappear because all points will be moved to 0. Nice little quality of life improvement there. The attribute proximity node also got the fields treatment, and now has a completely different name also. Which is, I don't think it's even mentioned here. You have to search for proximity, and it's called geometry proximity. There you go. Geometry proximity. Similar UI, but you're gonna notice the fields here.
And now the attributes are exposed, outputted. They're not just added to the geometry.
Yeah, they're outputted, and
So
they should be really visible here. You can now create new attributes in the modifiers. Support for creating new attributes in the modifier. So actually this is what we already discussed in the other videos. Partially what we already discussed in the other video is that now from the modifier itself, you can just type a new value and it's going to create the modifier, the attribute, right?
Yes, basically.
Yeah.
So not enthusiastic. Yes.
Yes,
so
it's
many
amazing.
changes. It is amazing.
Do not realize instances in material assign node. This is also for performance. Again, if you want the previous behavior, use the realize instances node. And finally, speaking of performance, multi-threading when modifying multiple geometry sets.
This is super nice.
This is amazing. Yeah.
And I expect with fields, people are gonna go more about procedural modeling, parametric modeling.
Yeah.
And then I think we're gonna see more node trees with different geometry sets being calculated. But then the tree doesn't need to be that linear, and people are not just instancing things in the geometry.
You wanna go get some water?
Yeah.
We are not so I think we're done with the updates of geometry nodes. Just a few mentioned. Simon Lenz committed this. I think maybe his first patch. I haven't seen him.
First patch.
First patch, yay! So congrats, Simon. You're now part of Blender forever. The fix that Simon committed was the camera border was still being shown even though the overlays and the passepartout setting was off. So
I didn't even test. I pushed the commit, but I saw that Sebastian has reviewed it.
Yes.
You know, if he reviewed, is it good enough?
It's good enough. Next, changing a bit of the topic in cycles there. Code, wait, don't get too excited. It's just to mention that it's being worked on, and it's good to show that it's being worked on. The code for HIP is HIP or HIP?
HIP.
HIP? Okay, so HIP, device support for AMD GPUs, is being worked on, is in master, but is not exposed yet to the user. It's just to make development easier for the developers, but and for developers to test. So it is very exciting to see that this is that the code is in master. So it's not exposed yet, but it's there.
I thought I was a lowercase.
Or HIP?
For HIP itself, yeah, if you click there. I don't remember, but
nope.
Nope.
So yeah. So congrats Sayak Visvas, Aria Rafi, and Brian Savory from AMD. And finally, there is a small speed up in Cycles X because, well, Cycles, let's call it just Cycles now, because denoising is not going to happen on per tile anymore for the time being. Today, Sergey mentioned that it might be a setting in the future for people that want to see denoising after each tile. But since it adds render time, because you have to denoise after, it's like it slows down things. So now it will happen at the end of the render. This doesn't happen, by the way, if you render via command line. If you are in a hurry, render via command line. All this updating the UI, what blah blah is skipped, so it's faster.
It takes some time.
Yeah, and okay, two more things and we are done. One is that in constraints, if you add a stretch to constraint, you might find out that it doesn't work as usual. It's because the default setting has changed to swing. Just a PSA, public service announcement. And for FBX people out there, when you export FBX from Blender, the proper boundary rule for subdivisions will be used. So should be better. Having no way of testing this thing, so let us know how it works.
Well, we do have a FBX sample file in the patch itself.
Yes, yeah. Sort of boundary, but it's with 2.93 and might take a while to test. That is all for the questions of today. Actually, I think we are covered.
For the questions of today, for the features of today, and now the questions start. It's 23 minutes past, and now the questions.
Now the questions. Okay, let's do 5 questions. Okay, because I have to do the live stream in Espanol. I have to do Blender today, Blender hoy. So okay, let's do 5 questions. Oh, jeez, 37 comments. Buckle up. First one with 5 likes. Your UI looks amazing. Can you share the build with us? I want it. That needs to be in 3.0.
What the agenda for the UI improvements, Pablo?
Well, the things that you see here, they're experimental. Like you may notice that the nodes, the header of the nodes is not full color anymore. It's just a slightly darker with a line underneath. This allows us to have more colors available because the color doesn't compete with the text. It's a small thing. Then this is slightly wider. The outline is thicker. I made it thicker because I found it a bit hard before. When you hard to see before, when you have, there is also an outline in the
the layout and the frame
in each
layout.
node itself. So there's a darker outline,
Uh-huh.
so you can tell them more when they have a background. There is a few changes, and of course the wire colors, which is a big change, and I'm testing it just to see how it feels. You can test this branch. The wire colors are not there, but you can. I'm gonna push this branch. It's called temp-ui-tweaks. The patch for the wire colors is by Juan Fran Mateo. I just updated it to fields to the new system. How do you like it? Does it feel weird for you?
It looks pleasant to the eye. Would like to see if a real. Do you have the sample file we had for?
The for a real with a real file.
Man, I don't know. It's now looks like a lot of things are going on.
Yeah, well, the dash lines
Add
also
to
make
them,
it a bit noisier. I think if we go with color, we can choose which.
But then you have color only for the data flow, not the function flow. You think?
That could be a way. What do you think?
I don't know. Have to look at it.
Yeah. So, but there are files that are heavier that we can play with and we can size. But this is like you see at a glance that this has color. That this is the color stuff. Or does it feel weird?
Oh, it's interesting. I don't know if that's the. I haven't done much node art, right? If any at all. So I don't know if that's the node art yet.
See that these are vectors. You can see it at a glance.
But then what I wonder if that's the most important information you want to look at it.
Yeah.
So that's the.
Maybe the wires can be thinner because also this is I think this is using the old the 1.20 1.5 thickness. But anyway, sidetracking. Nerve improvements coming. Nope, that I know.
Nope.
Are textures node being fixed?
No.
Not
Might be
that
replaced and nuked.
yeah, I think it was gonna be wiped and just like it's back. According no, well this is okay. Now it's green. Which okay, if you're watching this, which number I am doing with the hands? Leave a comment. Oh look at
back,
it.
back. It's back.
It's back. Okay. So yeah, that's you know, office internet is never as good as home internet. Cool. 2, yay, thank you. That's super cool. Thank you.
5. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you, Romans.
So back to the questions.
Maybe we can go to the question quickly because
Where is it? But I don't know where is the question.
I don't know
There's
where
a
the
question.
there's a question at the end.
So wait, 3.0 is such a major release. Would it be better to just take more time and to add those features that have been requested trillions times, like light linking, grouping, maybe an add-on manager, better animation playback with high poly? A lot of people are expecting really big things from 3.0. 3.0 roadmap is closed, so all of these things, unfortunately, they're not. They're not gonna make it for 3.0, but some might make it for the 3.x series, light thinking. I know there are patches, or it is in the roadmap.
And the main decision to whether wait to make a bigger release, it always comes back. This was already a big exception for 3.0 to wait 3 more months. We wanted to do more workshops. We couldn't do much international traveling, so that was something. But at least we already waited enough for Cycles X and the new change for geometry nodes and asset browser. So that's enough. Otherwise, never get to release, because this release also is a moment to reiterate over the features, to clean up, to polish, to bug fix. So I'm glad it's out of the way, and then we can get it better.
Yes, another strategy would be to, instead of just keep calling Blender 3.3.3, is the 3 series, to focus more on like, okay, during the 3 series, Blender will feel mature with all the features that you mentioned, or most of them. Will Blender ever get deep compositing?
I don't know. The future,
I don't know. Maybe it's something that
beyond our
Manuel
grip.
likes. Please do not remove default categories from the asset browser. You get tired of creating your own catalogs in each new version of Blender, and in each blend file it's actual info on the stock categories were quite convenient. Materials, objects, they could come back as catalogs. Default catalogs could come.
Oh, the catalogs are in a repository.
Yeah.
So you're gonna create it once, and you're gonna last your whole life of Blender use.
Okay. But by the time, but there's also the idea of having smart catalogs that,
Yes.
so maybe that could fix it, so they give me all the assets that are of type material, and that will be a smart catalog that you don't have to add stuff there manually, it's just automatic. That could solve it. But thanks for letting us know. Yes, actually, it's cool to see that people miss those old categories. When can we expect to see your node design from today in your Blender version in Blender?
Actually, maybe a small amendment on the one of the ideas for the uncategorized part of the catalogs to have the old categories, or another way to show for the uncategorized assets to show them per data block type. So we have the uncategorized and then have objects, materials.
Here, so
No, on the unassigned.
on
go to
unassigned,
unassigned,
and then here
Have an
lifted.
asset,
That would be
material,
cool, yeah.
object.
Yeah, like if we had like a nested here could
So if you never want to care about having your own catalogs, you don't have to worry about that. But when you do, you have that option.
that's a good idea, and it will look like an outliner basically.
Yeah.
Awesome.
She said it should be already in the roadmap. I don't know if Julian.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
at
but
the
for
time.
3.0 it would, yeah, I think it would be, because the idea is to kind of match. Okay, so 3 more questions. When can we expect the node design from today in your Blender version on Blender? Looks so good. Thank you. I'm glad that you like it. I have to show it to other people. I think this is the first time you see because I've done some changes on Friday before going to the weekend. I added some more spacing between the entries, which is very subtle, I think, but I kind of like that it's more readable. Also higher header. I need to just make a task and propose it to people, but I'm happy to, like, one of ways of getting feedback is by showing it in the live stream. Okay, I already asked this last week, but because you didn't get my question, I am asking again for an add-on project. I need to get the locations of the node sockets, so I suggest exposing this data to the Python API as read-only, so scripts can accidentally mess up the drawing of the nodes. I already created a patch for this with a bit more details. The position of each socket, or like this, getting the position of each socket. Where's the downside of doing this? It's just like bloat, like adding. Oh, it's actually all it takes.
Yeah.
Socket
I
location.
need to review it. I'll probably have a very different name than just log X.
Yeah. It should follow the naming of other location, location. But yeah, Campbell is there just a few days ago, so it will let you know. And that's it. Next one. Pablo embracing Italian gestures. Not Italian. This. I am from Argentina. Argentina is a country that was big part of it was built by Italians, Spanish, and people from everywhere. Italian is a big part of our culture, and this and this and this and all kinds of gestures.
Madonna's scoring of the hand.
That's a gesture with the hands too. No, but it's yeah, in Argentina we do these kind of things all the time. All right, that is all. What a long episode. It's been 1 hour 20. Not that long.
I don't know. It's 40 past 6 pretty much, so it's quite long.
And I need to go do the live stream in Spanish. You need to go home.
Need to do soup for tonight.
Soup for tonight. Yeah, the weather is getting soup ready. So I hope you had a good time here. I would like to see you more often. You can just walk upstairs.
Yeah, we're keeping the 1 hour mark, and I'll be here more often.
Keep under the 1 hour mark, and he will be here more often. Okay. But today was like next week. There's not gonna be that many updates anymore, right? Because Beacon, like, this was before Beacon 2, so that's why there's so much.
And for Jonathan Nodes, you also skipped last week, right?
Yes.
So there's also.
So that's why there is more. But next week,
we're still gonna have a lot of VR. Improvements are coming that couldn't make the Beacon 2, but are still small enough. No UI has some the theme we're still in the agenda to change, right? Including the animation one.
Yeah.
We have, anyways, I still foresee improvements until Beacon 3, and then the Beacon 3, we expect even more because the Beacon 1 again. Oh, the work never ends.
The work never ends. But wow, yeah.
But do you know what does end? These
BlenderToday. So time to call it a day. Thanks for tuning in. I'm gonna see you again next week. Same place, yes, same time for another episode of Blender Today Live. Okay. Happy blending. I forgot to change scene, so bye.